the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give the feed items in the sidebar some organization. I'm going to create a folder hierarchy. The first folder that I'm going to create will be named simply News. And I'm going to place in that News folder all of the items, the feed items, that correspond to News. I'm going to create a second folder and title that folder Blogs. And I'm going to add the items that are blogs. And then the final and third folder that I'm going to create, I'm going to title Technology. And I'm going to place those items that remain inside the Technology folder. Besides having the sidebar a little bit cleaner than with all of the feeds flat inside of it, this layout confers a number of advantages. The first is that I can choose to look not only at items individually or by shift or command clicking items multiply. So there are 38 items in these three feeds which are shown when I have all these items selected, but I can look at a single category all at once by simply clicking on the folder hierarchy in which those items are contained. So by clicking on the News folder, I can see all of the items that are news. Furthermore, I can organize them. In this case, it's reverse chronological order by date. But if I'm looking at all of these items, I'll choose to view them in regular ascending order and by organized by source. And I'll do that for the other folder hierarchies too. So each feed item can be organized individually however I choose. Here is reverse chronological by date, and the top levels are organized according to source. Now, the news feeds since the last refresh have downloaded 140 new items, and I can scan through this summary pane and see all of the items that are here. Typically, news feeds will not provide the full article. So for example, if I click on this item here, you'll see a headline and a summary and some other information. These look like tags that were placed on the article by people at the New York Times. So if I'm interested in reading this article in greater detail, I can click on the link provided in the feed, and because of the preferences that I set earlier to open links in my default web browser in the background, that article will appear in Safari and in the background, keeping NetNewsWire frontmost. The benefit to this is that when I'm looking over a large number of articles, I don't have to be distracted in my scanning and reading flow. So I can continue to find other items that I find of interest and scan and click on them. Now, this has a number of benefits. The first benefit is that I can get a good sense of the news since the last feed refresh by simply scanning the headlines and the summaries in my feed reader. If there are items that are of particular interest to me, I can then click them and read them in greater detail in my web browser, or if one chooses, one can read them also inside the feed reader itself. So there's, a large, this makes it much easier to read many items from many sources very quickly. The other advantage that NetNewsWire has is if I find an item, and let's say I really like this article and I want the link to it not to expire in 14 days, I can simply mark this item by right-clicking on it and mark it as flagged. This places it inside my flagged items folder here, and it will never disappear until I actually delete the item. so it'll always be available to me here for future reference. I've so far outlined several advantages of using an RSS reader, namely the ability to scan large amounts of information for items of interest, the ability to sort and group news items according to different criteria, and the ability to save items for future reference. Another advantage that newsreaders provide is the ability to keep track of sites that are frequently updated, and this advantage applies doubly for sites that are updated rarely or irregularly. And I will demonstrate this advantage by closing this demonstration version and opening my normal version of NetNewsWire. Here in my normal installation of NetNewsWire, in addition to having frequently updated sites which include news feeds, items like the New York Times homepage, the BBC News, and Guardian Unlimited, I also have infrequently updated sites. And some of these include blogs. At present, the blogs that I subscribe to are empty, which I guess demonstrates how infrequently sometimes blogs can be updated. But here, I also have journals. And these journals are primarily literary journals, which are updated very infrequently. However, when they are updated, I certainly want to know about those updates. So for example, here we have the 31st volume, second issue of Callaloo, and when it's available, which it is, I would like to know that. NetNewsWire tells me when new posts are available without me having to keep track of the website. Feed readers not only enable me to keep up with high-volume websites that publish new information dozens of times a day, they also help me keep track of sites that publish infrequently and/or irregularly, since I don't have to remember to go to the website. Instead, the website comes to me. This concludes my presentation on using RSS feed readers. While I focused on using a locally installed application, there are many web-based alternatives including Google Reader and Yahoo. I hope that you'll consider using one of these RSS programs soon so that the web will then start coming to you. Thank you for listening.